Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us to this webinar on Google Threat Intelligence News and Roadmap. My name is Sara Oulad, and I'm part of product growth team here at Google, and I'll be walking you through the first half of our session today, focusing on our major key product updates and new feature releases. And I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Megan. Megan, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, it's great to see you folks. My name is Megan Bloy. I am one of our product managers over on Google Threat Intelligence, and today I'll be covering the back half of this session, talking about where we're going in 2026 and some big pillars around our strategy and goals that we have to really evolve our threat intelligence product.
Thank you, Megan. So before we start, a quick note, feel free to send your questions in the chat at any time. Our experts are here and will be answering them through the session. So let's start with the key product updates. We are kicking off today with perhaps the most exciting evolution in our platform, Agentic Threat Intelligence. And let's explain very quickly what is this new tool and move to the demo part after. So the core concept is that tool is a conversational AI for threat intel. Agentic is a multi-language conversational interface that for the first time truly unlocks the depth and the breadth of Google Threat Intelligence platform. Remember that Google Threat Intelligence is bringing together curated Mandiant data, crowdsourced virus total intelligence, and Google Global Visibility. With such massive volume of information, it can sometimes be challenging to dig deeper and quickly find what we are looking for easily. And Agentic changes that. So you can ask Agentic in natural language anything related to threat intel, related to any use case, and receive immediate and context-aware answer. And you can ask follow-up questions and refine your search, which at the end dramatically reduces the time we spend on investigation and analysis. The system is built to help you take actions quickly and with a clear reporting and analysis. So you can, for example, quickly generate reports or summaries on complex threat intel topics. Like, for example, you can ask, give me a report on a new activity related to a specific threat actor, or give me a summary of the latest reports ingested in the last 24 hours related to my region or to a specific industry. How this malware family has evolved in the last 3 months. You can also specify the format and the answer. I can say, like, give me more technical details, or give me an executive summary, like an overview, etc. And for our analysts, you can also search for IOC. You know that we have this search bar in the platform that you can search for IOCs using different way of searches, like, for example, using the advanced searches with queries and all this stuff. So you can use the natural language instead of that and say, like, give me all the IOCs that are like this, behaving like this, etc. And also you have the malware analysis capability, which is a game changer. You can upload files and you receive natural language explanation of the analysis from the malware analyst agent. And we will see that in a demo. And you can do much more. But common questions we get from our users is, how can I trust the answer? You know, they are worry about hallucination and things like that. So Agentic provides full transparency. You can see exactly which sources are used and the reasoning process behind each answer. Let's go to the demo and see how the platform is. So first, if you go to the platform, to Google Threat Intelligence, you can see that the Agentic is the first feature in the menu on the left. If I click on it, so it's very similar to any AI platform. You have this chat, you have your history here, but part of that you have these prompts, and you have some quick prompts here, etc. So let's see some examples. For example, here I think this question is, let's see what I know. Let's see, for example, this question here. Like I'm asking, summarize all relevant information ingested in the last 72 hours on the threat target in the financial sector. Of course, I can also add maybe a region, right? And here you can actually see the thinking. And then you have the report from Agentic. Which is interesting is that you can see all these icons here. Those are the sources that Agentic is using. And for example, here we see that Agentic is using a curated report from Google Threat Intelligence. If I click on it, I can pivot to the report and understand a little bit more about this source. And a part of the curated or crowdsourced intelligence that we have in the platform, it uses also Google search. So for example, here it's using, well, this is from OSINT, sorry. So this is from a report already ingested, but let's see if we can find something to pivot to the URL. Sometimes you can also actually, here. This is from Google search. So you can, if you click on it, you will pivot to the specific report the Agentic is using. And then you have some suggestions. Also, you can see the sources here to list all the sources used. And also you can just do your follow-up questions. Another interesting thing here you have is the prompts. We have already some example of prompts built by the team that you can use, but you can always create your like specific use case or your specific prompts. So you can give name, description, content. You can specify the variables, specify the format, and have the prompt running. For example, if I want to use this one, threat actors recent activity executive brief. So if I click on this prompt, it's actually executive summary on threat actor. So I have just to add the threat actor, for example, let's say APT44, and click on it, and we'll see the thinking. Hopefully it's not taking too much time. So we can see the thinking and then also the answer. Another thing that we can do here is the malware analysis, as I said at the beginning. So, for example, I can upload a file and say analyze or this file as malware analyst. And the interesting thing is that if the file is already in the platform, so Agentic will use all the report that we have, with the information that we have, and also the malware analyst to give us a report about that, for example, a hash, right? But if the file is not in our platform, Agentic will use the private scanning tool to detonate the file, to analyze the file without sharing the file with anybody else. So you will see the complete reports from Agentic using the private scanning feature that we have in the platform that you can find actually here. But let's see if here we go. So here we have the threat brief APT44 activity in the last 90 days. You can see here, you can actually see the card of APT44. You can click on it, pivot to the threat card that is used as a source for this answer. And then you can see who's APT44, recent targeting and activity. And for that, it's using different sources. Here, for example, we have this malware family, the same. I can pivot to the malware family as well. And global and European targeting, other sources. This also is part of this report. What else we have here? So a part of the prompts. I wanted to show you the analysis of a file. Let's see if I have anything. Malware analysis report. Here we go. So here I've used analyze the following file hash as if you were a malware analyst. Actually, I don't have to add this. It will do it as a malware analyst. And here you can see the complete report. So we have the overview, the detection, in this case, the file is already in our data set. That's why with the hash it's enough. And then some association, the threat actor, another threat actor, some collections already also related, etc., etc. And at the end, some relationship with other IOCs, and we have then the conclusion from the malware analyst. Yeah, we have actually a lot of things that we will add actually to the threat profile, to the agentic, sorry, that you will see in the 2026. And yeah, I think that I've covered. For example, I have another example here. Wandering sector, Yara rule. I don't have it here. No, but I can also. Here we go. I can also, for example, give me Yara rule to detect Cobalt Strike, like here. And as you can see, we have a widget with a curated Yara rule from Google Threat Intelligence Group. And you can then see the Yara rule. You can ask, like I did here, like explain the Yara step by step, and you can see that the tool is explaining step by step all the field in the Yara. And then you can also use this Yara rule for your live hand or retro hand job directly from here. Okay, so you have documentation. You have also some prompt examples that you can find in our this. We already covered this, and here you have some examples also in the prompts, and you can find all this information also on our documentation. By the way, an important thing that our customers are asking about is the roadmap, like what the automation and integrations. This is something that we are working on, and we will see in the next year. Also building Yara rules, different formats of Yara, IDS, Sigma, etc. All that will be in 2026, so we'll keep you updated. Next is the threat profile version 2. But before we dive into what's new, let's take a moment to level set, and specifically for anyone who may not use this threat profile yet, or may not be using this threat profile yet. So what exactly is threat profile? Threat profile is, or in Google Threat Intelligence, actually, a threat profile is your team's single source of truth to prioritize threats. So it's a fully customizable container that lets you define and focus only on the threats that matter most to you. You have to specify the industry, the region, a specific region that you're concerned about, and it will create this threat profile for you, and then you can add other threats. But let me show you. It's better so you can understand better what I'm talking about. Here in your threat landscape, you find my threat profile. So here I have some threat profile already created by the team, but it's very easy. You can just go here, create, add a name, like for example, I can say, I don't know, my threat profile. Next, and then you have to select the industry, the targeted region, advanced options where you can also select source region, the malware role, and the actor motivation. Next, then you can specify the period you want threat profile to cover, and you save it. Then once you save the threat profile, you will see information like this. Let me maybe open it in another tab so we can see it better. There we go. Usually, the first thing you will see are the recommended threats that are added automatically from the threat profile, and the object types that you can filter, the origin, the source region, targeted region, the list, and this threat map visualization. This is very interesting, and this is actually new in the threat profile version 2, where you can see the threats, and actually you can see the label also of those threats by enabling this, where you can see the relevance story based on your industry, targeted region, motivations, etc., that you've specified, and the hotness of those IOCs or indicator. Okay. We have actually very interesting webinar done by Megan DeBlois about this threat profile that we encourage you to see if you're interested to know more and more in detail what is this threat profile and all what you can do and use cases, etc. So the new things that we have here are this map. We also enhance the sharing part, so you can share your threat profile with specific user or with the entire organization. Also, you have the activity timeline, where you can see the activity of the threads that you have in that thread profile. The reports, here we have the recommended one, but you can also always add other report that you're interested in your thread profile. Actions, this is one of the most interesting ones, where you can also integrate those IOCs from your thread profile to your IOC stream. And if you click here, you will view, in this case, from this thread profile, I have only this hash, but actually here in source type, you can see that I have all IOCs from my all thread profile that I have in my thread profile list. Another interesting thing that we've added in recently is the research or the empty thread profile. So if you create a thread profile without specifying not the name, but you don't specify the region or the industry, anything, you will have an empty thread profile like this one that we have here. And then you can add objects types to your thread profile. Of course, since we don't have any region or industry or anything, so all the threads are only based on the hotness of the indicator. And this is very interesting to collaborate with the team and investigate new findings and new malware families or new things for the security teams. What else we have that things related to agentic, which is really, really interesting. So if you go to any of your thread profile, and let me again maybe go to new tab so we can see it better. You have the tell me why part. So if I click on this tell me why, you will see why this thread was added to your thread profile. And we should have an explanation. Here we go. This item is listed because it was recommended based on the thread profile configuration and all the details. And then I can do a follow-up question. So I can say, for example, how can I protect myself from this? If I click here, I will pivot to agentic. And here I can, again, click and ask the question. And then we can continue the conversation with agentic and find more about this thread that was added to my thread profile. I'm not going to wait for that. So I want to show you the other interesting thing related also to agentic and thread profile that we've added recently, and it's the briefing or the threat intel agentic threat briefing. So here, for example, I have 41 threads. I can select all of them. I can select few of them, and then I can click on this brief. If I click on it, I will generate another prompt. And here I have produce an executive brief of the following objects. And in these objects that you can see, I have campaigns, I have threat actors. And again, you just click on submit, and then you will see executive briefing of the object selected. So I think that we've covered all new things in agentic. I don't know if Megan wants to add something that I missed. Otherwise, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so next is the Code Insight. And again, before we dive into the new feature, let's quickly revisit what makes this tool actually very powerful. Code Insight can turn code snippets into clear natural language. This gives the security analyst actually a fast and deep understanding of what the code is doing, helping them detect and mitigate threats much more efficiently. But let me show you how this thread profile looks like. So if I look for files that have the thread profile, Code Insight. Files that have Code Insight, search for that. And we have millions of files. I will just choose one. We can add first scene. Oh, here we go. So for example, let's go for this PX or for this one, for example. So if you go to the detection tab, you can see here the Code Insight summary. So this binary version of REMCOS, remote administration tool, often used by attackers to lateral movements, etc., etc. So this is how Code Insight look like. Actually, it's It was actually our first major AI milestone back in 2026 in VirusTotal, and now we have it in VirusTotal and in Google Threat Intelligence, and it's evolving, and we're adding more and more releases and updates to the threats to the code inside. And here we have the three major advancements we have. So the first one is that we are expanding the file support. So we're adding more type of files. We are now supporting SWF and SVG, but also we are expanding the executable for Windows, Linux, and OS X. Another very interesting thing is the automation and analysis. So we are introducing a new API endpoint that acts as an AI assistant to reverse engineering. So it pre-analyzes functions and code blocks and provides immediate description of what they do. And what is actually even more powerful is that it supports analysis chaining. So it remembers what it's already analyzed and uses that context to move forward, which helps making your investigation much faster and much consistent. Another very interesting thing is the private scanning. As I mentioned at the beginning, talking about agentic, you know that we have this tool, private scanning, where we can scan files and URLs in a private way, and you can actually detonate those files and URLs with this live interaction. We have a lot of configuration in here that are very important. But the private scanning basically is that where if you're not comfortable with sharing files or URLs, you can, and you want to know more about the file and also analyze it with GTI tools and features that we have, so you can use this private scan. Now with the private scanning, we have also, let me show you enterprise. And let me show you an example because I don't have here. No, actually, the private scanning was introduced also to the code inside. So here, for example, if I go to this file, let's go to this one, you can see the code inside in this private scanning of the file. Okay, next topic is safe search. So, you know, many of you rely on our advanced search and query language to run your investigation. And until now, whenever you finally crafted that query, you had to save it manually somewhere else. So this that era is over, and now we have safe searches in the platform finally. So you can save those query instantly right within the platform. But we didn't stop there. So this feature was designed for collaboration. You can share your saved search with the other users or with the entire group. And also for those who want to give back, so you can even publish those searches to the wider community, so every GTI user can benefit from your expertise. And this is only the beginning, because we are already working on the next step, which is automation. And soon you'll not only be able to save your searches, but also schedule them to run them automatically. Let me show you very quickly how it looks like now. So if I do any search, for example, here, search, I can actually save it. So I can say, okay, I want to save this search. I can give a title, a description. I have here the query, and I can add some tags. And then I can also share the visibility if I want to share it with my org, or I want it public, or only, or I can also specify the username. Okay, but for now it's private. Okay. And then if you go to the IOC investigation, you can see here all the saved searches. In this case, I don't have any saved searches, but I can see others saved searches. So those are the public ones. And here you can see, if you go to any of those, you see what is the search, the description of it, the title, etc. Okay. Next, ransomware data leak. So this, the ransomware data leak dashboard shows us all data leak sites where we can find leak data of organizations that have been affected by ransomware groups. And this dashboard is right here in the dashboard part, ransomware, which is in beta still. And you can use this filtering here to control like dates, the company name, the country, the industry, which allows you like to immediately find activity relevant to your specific organization or sector, and also helping you quickly assess potential exposure. So then, for example, let's say country, it's just here, United States, and run it. And then we can see that some sites, which are the ransomware families, the percentage of victims by company size, percentage of victims by shaming, industry, etc. Also, this interesting thing here is that you can pivot, for example, on killing. So if I click on it, I pivot to the killing reports. We have here all the reports related to killing, the crowdsource and threat intelligence. Also, we have the Gemini summary, IOCs related to killing, threats, collections and malware, and etc., etc. So we can get all this visibility just by clicking on the thread. By the way, it will be accessible via API very soon as well. And audit log. So for large organization, having clear visibility into who did what and when, we know that it's very important. And the audit log brings that visibility directly into GTI, Google Threat Intelligence. So it provides a complete time-stamped history of all actions taken within your GTI group. And the access is restricted to group admins. So only admins can access this audit log that you can find in the group settings. And last but not least, OSINT contribution. So as you know, Google Threat Intelligence already ingests a large volume of OSINTs. We have both curated sources and crowdsourced intelligence from the community, which we enrich and transform into actionable insight. But we also know that many of you come across high value OSINTs every day during your investigation, and we want that knowledge to be part of the ecosystem as well. So that's why we've introduced Submit Your Own OSINT here that you can find in the report part. Let me show you. So if I go to the report analysis, you can find here this Submit Your OSINT. And actually here what we do is that what you should do is actually just you have to submit the URL, and Google Threat Intelligence will process it automatically with Gemini doing the heavy lifting. And this automation is fast and comprehensive, and the system will extract key categorization field like threat actors, malware families, targeted regions, industry when it's clearly identified in the report. Also, it will generate a concise Gemini-powered summary, and also it will pull out or referenced IOCs like files, URLs, domains, and IPs. I think I have an example here. I have this report. Now we can try and use. This is some ransomware of the week. This is some summary, so I can just go here. Go here, submit your OSINT. Add the URL, submit, and here we go. Very quickly, we can see the summary. Well, actually, this one was already updated, ingested before. But, well, we can see here the Gemini summary, we can see the content, we can see the targeted regions, the industries, the source regions, associations as well, and you can always click and pivot the TTPs. And then you can pivot to the associations, IOCs. In this case, we have some rules, etc. TTPs, etc. And that's all. To you, Megan.
All right, thank you very much, Sarah. So as you can see, we've been doing a lot over the last half of this year, and we are excited to continue cranking out a few more things before the end of the year here. But I'm going to be talking a little bit about 2026 and really focus on, how we within Google Threat Intelligence product are thinking about the roadmap and vision as we head into another exciting year of threat intelligence in 2026. So before jumping into kind of where we're going, I do want to kind of recap where we've been. 2024 is when we officially launched Google Threat Intelligence. That's kind of our Act 1, right? If we look to the far left here. In that first year, we were really focused on bringing the best perspective of all the different threat intelligence sources that we have between VirusTotal, Mandiant, Google, into a single view, and really supporting, core workflows to get the best, really 360 perspective of the threat landscape globally, to really support our customers' understanding of new, novel, and relevant threats that matter to them. As we headed into 2025, as we moved over to Act 2, really what we saw is the emergence of what Sarah talked about right at the beginning of this session, really starting to explore agentic threat intelligence, AI-powered systems to really help translate the threat intelligence that matters into actionable artifacts, whether it's a strategic briefing, whether that's something operational, helping your teams figure out how to find the best opportunities for threat hunting, or whether it's very tactical, trying to understand, hey, like, what is this actual IOC that has been flagged for me in my system? What is it doing? What else should I understand about this particular piece of infrastructure that an adversary is using so that I can better protect myself within my organization? So that was 2024, that was 2025, but where are we going in 2026? 2026 is really going to be about scaling and hyper-scaling efficiencies across your threat intelligence program and creating and maximizing impact for your broader security program through autonomous and semi-autonomous workflows through agents, and really leaning harder into these agentic systems that we're building out inside the product to really accomplish various different goals and objectives, depending on who you are, depending on what your goal or objective is, and really being able to shape outputs to the particular outcome that you're driving for. So as we kind of go into 2026, that North Star we're aiming for is really getting better and better at identifying those threats in an autonomous way. We're building out agents in our backend systems. We're building out agents in the front-end systems available to customers to really support this autonomous threat discovery to proactively prevent those threats before they're seen in your system. So for us, that means really thinking hard about how we're optimizing for a modern threat intelligence stack. And this is really a combination of the underlying threat intelligence data and intelligence that's coming from the many sources that we already have, and expanding those sources to continue gaining a lot of that visibility. That has to do with layering in various types of experiences to ensure that workflows and strong user journeys are supported. And of course, it has to do with baking in a lot of our really world-leading AI capabilities, whether it's the model itself, like Gemini 3, whether it's the infrastructure and underlying technology, like our own vector capabilities, or whether it's really that experience that we're layering on top to really support workflows. So that all together kind of can be decomposed into a few different components here of what this modern threat intelligence stack really looks like. And for us, that really starts with our threat intelligence expertise. And that comes in the form of those human experts that we're working with and looking to hyperscale and looking to really transform how they're doing their work to identify, research, analyze the threats that we're seeing across the globe, whether it's in the deep dark web and hard to reach places through our first party collections, or whether that's through our IR investigations and really more deeply understanding at scale and triangulating, right, those campaigns that are going on and things that we're seeing in things that you're seeing as a customer or across the world. And that really has to do with figuring out how do we expand our ability to really embed analysts with the product. And that means, making sure that customers and our experts are able to work and walk hand in hand within the product to not just deliver a final report, but deliver a dynamic research artifact that's a living and breathing artifact that a customer can take and evolve and continue to collaborate with experts over time. As we think about other dimensions here, I know we've talked a lot about agents. I know we've talked a lot about AI, but some of the things that we're thinking about and how to modernize this technology stack when it comes to threat intel, some of the things we think about when we talk about really transforming threat intelligence programs is really tapping into and better understanding how to leverage agents, AI, generative AI specifically, and how to operationalize that better within your existing workflows. And that's going to come in various different forms, whether it's, the prompts that Sarah was sharing, expanding that to be more expansive, being able to create your own agents, create shareable agents that operate on your behalf. So you can have 24/7 research capabilities, 24/7 threat monitoring across our expansive corpus of intelligence. We're also working on our malware analyst agents. So really trying to scale and democratize a very technical skill set, right? Reverse engineering malware, a capability that is often, we don't have a dedicated reverse engineer on staff. And so really helping teams up-level themselves with the technology, up-level their capabilities with the help of some of this technology to better understand and build programs to identify and deeply understand how malware is working when they see it. We're also working on advancing some of our threat research agents across, again, all of our corpus, whether that's dark web intel, or it's a combination of your own intel that you're generating in the context of everything that we have in the product. These agents will essentially be extensions, right, of your team and really equip and make your teams more capable than ever before. When it comes to relevance, so this is an interesting one for me especially. I think we're so well positioned as Google Threat Intel. The best relevance is going to come with the best threat intelligence foundation. That's sort of that step one that you need in order to have good relevance. But one of the things that generative AI is really unlocking is this ability to blend together your continuous organizational context, whether that's the things you care about, whether that's certain demographic information about where you are, kind of what neighborhood, what geography you're based in, to even things like your own inventory of technologies or assets. All of that is organizational context that can really drive a very specific and high quality lens on top of all the intelligence in the product. And that's the direction that we think that we should be going into. And again, a core requirement is having the best threat intel and then having incredible and powerful technology with generative AI in the new world of being able to drive and embed this context into various different matching algorithms with the emergence of AI to really develop best-in-class adaptive and dynamic relevance capabilities that will persist across the product. Part of this is also going to be really looking at better supporting customers in gaining threat insights and visibility based on what you yourself are seeing in your own telemetry. The most relevant threats to a customer, to you all, are the ones that you yourselves are seeing every single day. Hopefully not every single day. You yourselves are seeing in the wild, seeing maybe a threat make it into the house. You at least see threats, targeting, knocking at the door. All of that is incredibly powerful context and threat insight that we are looking at bringing into the fold to incorporate in this more powerful kind of next gen relevance capability. We've talked a lot about this next one here around AI analysis combined with human expertise and curation. I think that, again, kind of goes hand in hand with that first one that we just talked, the first one on this list that we talked about, which is really evolving not just customer workflows, but how our own experts are really utilizing AI to curate at a scale that we've never been able to curate before. And then finally, of course, we're continually working on broadest threat visibility. It's not just about what Google knows. Yes, that's a core corpus. The vast majority of our corpus today is really what Google knows. And Google in this sense means, VirusTotal, Mandiant, as well as the whole Google ecosystem insights that we're deriving and pulling in through things like our Google Threat Intelligence score for all indicators. But it's also about what the industry knows. We pull that through that open source intelligence scraping and automated collection that we do automatically for you. We have over 400 different sources that we're pulling from the open source intelligence group. And we're continuing to expand that and making it expandable in a self-service way, like Sarah showed. But in the future, we're looking to expand that even at the source level and really exploring how we can turn and transform that open source intelligence into more actionable capabilities, breaking down and categorizing the TTBs mentioned in a technical report, helping you map out from a prose, from a report written by someone we trust in the industry, and really being able to formulate an attack path visualization, some sort of tangible artifact that you can then contextualize with that organizational context that we're bringing into the platform, and really have a conversation with other defenders and other IT architecture folks that you need to influence as a threat intelligence function. Help them understand, hey, this is the attack path. This is how an adversary would actually perpetrate, right, an attack. This is how the attack looks once they've made it in the house and they're moving laterally and they're looking to gain access, elevate their capabilities to do more badness within the system. And then you can have interesting conversations around how we would defend based off of our specific context. And then finally, like we talked about before, it's really about blending not just what Google knows, not just what the industry knows and what the world knows, but bringing together into the fold what you know. The most relevant threats are the threats that you see targeting you, and creating more and more capability to auto-curate that threat insight based off of that telemetry, based off of those behavioral events that you're seeing, and creating more workflows to automate, not just create a private collection manually in Google Threat Intel, but actually adapt that to be auto-curating your own campaigns that you're seeing target you, and having an easy button to do that. I'm gonna do a quick time check here. Let's see. Cool. So I think we have a few more minutes here. So I want to cover a couple more things. So as we talk about that modern technology stack, this is where we really think the Google Threat Intelligence difference is going to be. It's being able to stop and anticipate adversaries at a scale that we've really never been able to do before. And the prerequisite of that is having that visibility. And so that is core to us to make sure that we continue to have that unparalleled breadth and depth coming from Google ecosystem, the world, industry experts, as well as what you see in your environments and how you're deriving and being able to auto-curate those threat intel insights to pull it back into your understanding of what threats matter to you. It's being able to turn them into action. And action can mean a lot of different things depending on your who you are and kind of your goal. The way that we think about it is kind of in two veins, right? We think tactical is sort of like the old way of doing things, an IOC-driven world, is not going to help us or be less helpful in the future, because infrastructure is going to change and adversaries are going to be able to adapt at speeds that we've really never been able to see before. So what this means is we have to, as an industry imperative, we have to really take really strong leaps forward into operational actionability, meaning adversarial TTPs, the Ps and TTPs, the procedures, the actual adversary behavior and that level of detail that can then translate to go hunt, go create or prioritize detection so that you can protect yourself if this is seen in your environment. And then finally, of course, we have that big operational piece that we're really focused on that threat hunting persona or detection engineering persona, behaviors of threats, not infrastructure of those threats alone, and really supporting more of that strategic communication to business leaders. So making sure, hey, if we what are the last 6 months look like for us in terms of the threats that have targeted us? Being able to answer those questions, being able to analyze that very quickly, and then being able to communicate that and shape with AI, with the help of AI, shape that output in communicating with key stakeholders that you need to communicate with, whether that's your manager, your CISO, or even the board, to really help you figure out how to be more proactive and resilient against the threats that are most relevant and most likely to be targeting you. Make Google part of your security team remains to be a very important part of our philosophy and ethos, like we've talked about, really making sure we're even embedding more expertise directly in the product to support up-leveling and increasing skill sets of security programs, particularly within the threat intel vein, to make sure that we have a threat-informed way to prioritize and defend against adversaries that matter to us. So with that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the key things and kind of next frontier things for us that are a little more specific around what we're doing when it comes to frontline visibility. So we already know that we do over 1,000 IRs a year. That gives us a lot of great visibility into frontline methods and tactics being used by adversaries. We do have over 500 threat intelligence analysts that we're looking to hyperscale, many of them using AI and building their own agents today to really auto-curate first draft content to really scale their abilities. But one of the cool things that we're doing right now is also figuring out, how do we build an auto-curation agent for some of these campaigns? And how do we scale that type of technology and get it in the hands of our customers? How do we give customers the same abilities to auto-curate the event data that we're seeing adversaries utilize and the detailed behaviors? How do we give customers the ability to apply those same technology patterns or technology capabilities within their own telemetry, for example? How can we really scale that capability and put it in the hands of customers over the course of 2026? As we talk about SecOps, we're really focused in 2026 on figuring out better together feedback loops between SecOps and GTI. Google Threat Intel being, the primary persona in Threat Intel, being really focused on that Intel analyst. But we know we have a shared user here, which is our threat hunter, and really figuring out how to both derive that threat intelligence from SecOps, but also support threat hunting workflows within SecOps, powered by all of that good Google goodness and Mandiant and VirusTotal, Google Threat Intelligence data to really help with behavioral adversary behavior identification in your environment. We're continuing Google visibility, of course, focusing on new, novel, and emerging AI threats and insights, cloud threats, as well as differentiated types of brand monitoring. We are focused on how to better scale and support community. We've got millions, right, of VirusTotal users, but really where we see the community thriving is really unlocking more crowdsourced capabilities where AI and machines really don't solve that problem. New types of contribution and different types of contribution incentives coming soon, but really figuring out how to better support the contributor community, as well as support expanding that visibility for all to be good stewards of the internet. Industry aggregation. So we're continuing to support, again, various different partnerships, sort of orthogonal to visibility that we talked about before. So really trying to close any particular gaps that we're seeing, but also foster that contribution as well through various partnerships. So if you're interested in partnering, you're interested in contributing to VirusTotal, to the community, please reach out. We're very excited to start those partnerships in 2026. And finally, we want to talk about scale. And scale, we have over 100 billion files scanned by Google antivirus every single day. We've got millions of VT submissions, tens of millions of submissions every day. So we already have massive scale, but we want to scale that even further, right? So applying AI on top of all of that data, on top of all of that context, to really support really the kind of auto derivation of trends, of understanding cyber threat trends, understanding what those other, what trends in the sense to help us identify future state directions where the wind's blowing, right? Of how adversaries are leveraging AI, leveraging new novel tactics, and really supporting that proactive, preemptive approach to stopping threats before they happen. And then finally, this is kind of summarizing our key strategic imperatives for next year. So we'll just kind of summarize here kind of what the recap is of some of these some of the things we talked about, and really what that means for us in 2026. So we talked about our 4 key imperatives, and everything I discussed before can really be boiled down into these 4 things, right? The full threat spectrum visibility. It's that full 360 view, best perspective, and making sure that we have that most accurate, complete, timely, actionable knowledge base by combining the new and novel threats of cloud and AI, really exposing more of our dark web and cybercrime visibility. We have some of the best dark web threat intelligence on the planet, and we're working to expose that more to customers so that you can do your own agentic research, so that you can create your own prompts that are scheduled and rinse and repeatable to go investigate dark web or surface web, things that are hard to reach, right, on the internet, and understand those threats more deeply. And then finally, being able to really expand our TTP coverage and make the data more usable for threat hunting and detection engineering use cases. For our second imperative, we have the hyper-personalized proactive defense. So that's going to be really focused on relevance, as we talked about, using some next-gen LLM techniques to really understand and contextualize intel at scale. And that's inclusive of new ways that we're thinking about digital risk and brand protection. We're thinking about, again, helping you understand the most relevant threats to you, which are the things that you've observed in your environment, and having an easy way to have a nice feedback loop back into your threat intelligence product like Google Threat Intel. And then, of course, making sure that we have deep actionability on some of our other capabilities, like the threat profile that Sarah talked about, making sure that you can really translate that into priority detections or quickly and seamlessly go from threat profile to the out-of-the-box detections that we have baked into the product already to really turn that into action. Our third imperative here is collective investigations and defense. So really transforming our product into, not the old way to tip, but a next generation way to think about a threat intelligence platform, a place where you can aggregate different threat intelligence sources, including your own, a place that you can actually do analysis. And that really begins with being able to curate your own threat intelligence. And we're evolving our collections concept, our private collections concept as we speak, to really support customers as well as partners to be able to create their own different types of threat intelligence, not just simply an IOC collection, but creating your own campaigns, creating your own reports, and really pulling that in into the product so it can be understood in the context of everything Google Threat Intelligence knows about the threat. We're also looking to expand some of our sharing and trusted circles with various different sort of management expertise embedded in those workflows, as well as other tools to expedite some of that observation we talked about with in-year telemetry to something more understandable depending on your audience. And finally, turnkey agentic and operationalization. So again, if 2025 was sort of like the get your toes wet, a lot of customers starting to experience what agentic threat intel is, starting to understand, what it's good at, what are some rough edges or constraints. 2026 will really be focusing on helping customers operationalize this type of capability within their workflows, whether it's, again, setting up some autonomous workflows at scale, rinse and repeatable, scheduled, or whether it's integrating really beyond some of the use cases we previously talked about, integrating some of those other pieces of visibility to give you that full context. And with that, I think that's going to be all the time we have today. But we'll just want to say, thank you so much for joining us today and being here with us to talk a little bit about the exciting things that we've delivered and launched over the course of the last few months, and really being here with us to talk a little bit about our strategy and where we think, where we need to go and where the industry needs to go as we head into 2026. So thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you all in 2026. Take care.